Hey everybody, it's Book of Catherine. I hope you're doing well. So today we're going to go over what Revelations 18 is and why I think that it is Beirut, the Beirut explosion. So Revelations 18 is called, the headings that they gave it later, like 500 years later after it was written, is Doomed to the City of Darkness, or Doomed to the City of Babylon, or Doomed to Babylon, Doomed to the Great City in Isaiah, all these different things 2,700 years ago, over thousands of years and hundreds of years, all these things doomed to this great city. And I'm going to tell you why I think that it is Beirut, the Beirut explosion. And this is, I made a prediction back in February. I was really worried about there being a super huge explosion, a super huge, even nuclear explosion. And then it ended up happening and I missed it. And I posted much later after it happened, being like, I missed it. And so let's talk about why this is actually, this is why I think it's Babylon. And I've already talked about that, but why I think that, let's just go into it. Let's go line by line. Okay, so it says, I'm reading from the Message, but that's what I actually ended up getting. It's called the Message. So the Message Bible, that's the best translation. When you compare, it has like twice the lines. It's just the least edited. No king had anything to do with it that I know of. So anytime that a royal or a king has nothing to do with it, like King George III and his descendants had nothing to do with the translation, or Rome had nothing to do with its translation, it's usually a pretty good translation. So something, just same thing, same people, Rome and stuff like that. Same people who do the translating of the Quran. So, all right, so here we go. It says, following this, I saw another angel descend from heaven. His authority was immense. His glory flooded with brightness. His voice was thunderous. Interesting that it says thunderous, since that's almost exactly what it was, this huge thing of thunder when it went off. Ruined, great Babylon ruined. A ghost town for demons is all that's left. And that's actually what it looks like. Whenever we've seen movies lately of ghost towns, the whole city is black, isn't it? We've seen, I think it's Generation Z, or what is it? We've seen, like the zombie, for Zombie Generation Z or something like that. All these zombie movies and, Dead, Walking Dead, it all shows cities of just black. And isn't that exactly what Beirut looks like now? It's just a city, totally intact, but it's just black. It's all black. Whereas with the nuclear blast, it looks like a moon. And that's what we thought that it looked like back in Revelations, earlier in Revelations, when some of the trumpets went off, when some of the earlier things in the scrolls in Revelations, it talked about the moon turned to blood. Honestly, the things that were left in the moon, like the remains, like where in like Nagasaki, that had all the streets turned into what looked like a moonscape, but it was really all blood. So it's very interesting. So a ghost town for demons is all that is left. A garrison of carrion spirits, a garrison of loathsome carrion birds. And that's exactly what's happening. People picking over what's left. There is a lot there to pick over, because what happened was all of the windows were blown out and all of the doors were blown. If you remember, if you went through all of the videos, what happened was, and we didn't even know blast like this was possible, ammonium nitrate. We could have never predicted it would be like this. But what happened was a blast went through it, rolled through, left everyone alive, but knocked through all the glass, evaporated out all the glass. So the glass, you couldn't recover it, and knocked all the doors off their hinges and broke the actual doors. So you couldn't put the doors back up. So makes it a city of all these valuables, very, very wealthy city. So people full of, the wealthiest people in the world had this huge city of sky rises, and then it knocks off all the doors, all the windows, makes it impossible to put it back up. It's all kind of made of cement. So how do you kind of put it back up? And then it just blows off the doors, blows off the windows, leaves it all open. And it's like, Well, what comes next? How do you do shelter? How do you kind of pin it up? And then shatters all the art in it. It kind of blew everything back and everything. It even took those doors and shattered the doors. It took the glass and shattered the glass. And even then, it kind of amazingly enough left a lot of the art inside and kind of left it the gold and jewels inside intact. And so now all the carrion birds are going to come and pick at it. That's exactly what's going to happen. So it says carrion birds are going to pick at it. All nations drank the wild wine of her whoring. Kings of the earth went whoring with her. Entrepreneurs made millions exploiting her. And that, what we've learned is whoring with her was over the centuries, it's been the goddess that's been over either Tyre, Tyre, the city has been either Tyre or Beirut right there. Tyre and Beirut have been ruled by a female goddess. The deity of that city has been a female goddess, and the female goddess has been Ashtaroth, also known as Ishtar, or the goddess of heaven. That's why they put her up so high. Or the Lady Madonna, Our Lady of Lebanon. And I think that's why they say that she's the goddess of the cedars, because that cedarwood, I think, allowed her to go and become a trading city of the world. They cut down all those cedars, the cedars of the gods, and used it to float across the world. I don't know, I could be wrong, but it originally used to be, the city that used to be the land where originally King Solomon, this used to be the land of the Jews. Technically, that was the land that the God of Israel, was given to the Israelites, and King Solomon had. So that's King Solomon's land. So very interesting. Just then I heard another shout of heaven. Get out, my people, get out as fast as you can, so you don't get mixed up in her sins, so you don't get caught in her doom. Her sins. So I'm wondering who else screamed, get out, because I know I was get out, but I was saying get out from the green zone, right? So I know some of my people got out, but it's very, very interesting. Her sins, I'm thinking also, now people are get out of there, get out now, you can't trade with her. People are getting out and trading with Israel instead, using their ports instead. Though I'm not so sure if Israel was already, I don't know, it's very interesting. Get out, my people, get out as fast as you can, so you don't get mixed up in her sin, so you don't get caught in her doom. So her doom was that she had a whole bunch of human trafficking cells underneath the docks there, it turned out. And it looks like those docks went 20 stories underneath. Those docks went 20 stories down. So we saw the top of them when they first opened it up, and then the docks went 22 stories down. So we saw the top of them opened and went 22 stories down, and then it looks like it went all the way down to Palestine. All the way down to Palestine and all the way up to Syria. I'm wondering if these, trade routes went all the way up into Europe. I'm seriously wondering. I know that European girls were constantly getting caught at parties and just sex traded. They were getting traded out. And we know that they had above ground trains, but I mean, we constantly have satellites above. The underground trains, no one can see. I mean, 22 stories, that's impressive. And I seriously doubt Israel didn't know. I mean, and if as we found out, according to the text, that America is Israel, not what the nations call Israel today, we got a problem. So get out, my people, get out as fast as you can, so you don't get mixed up in her sin. Her sins stink to high heaven. So that's the sulfur rising up into the air. God has remembered every evil she's done. And it keeps saying she. Well, it turns out the Bible refers a lot to this Ashtaroth figure. A lot in the Bible. A lot. And I didn't know that. At all. I mean, these texts are new to me. So it turns out she's referred to a lot. So the people who study this, I mean, the Jerusalem must have known, the ancient Jews, they must have known Ashtaroth must have been this person. But see, if they didn't believe in Revelations, then they wouldn't have thought any of this was real. Does that make sense? That's why I thought that Paul was all about turning people off from reading the Old Testament. You'll never see a church now that even though we're into studying Christianity and we've not done a lot of sermons or anything, but I still have yet to see a sermon turn to the Old Testament. Like really get into the Old Testament text and the Old Testament prophets. We do. We're into it all the time. Chuck Missler does some of it, and that's what's gotten us what we've gotten. But, only in this end of it, it's just not a whole lot. A lot of it's crap. A lot of people teach a lot of, they're always in a Paul, and his stuff is not that great. I finally found one quote he did where I was like, oh, this makes sense. And I'll have to give it to you. He said something like, it's the first time I finally found something besides the being free, that we're all created equal. He said, the guilty think everyone else is unclean, and the clean think everyone is clean. Like the people who are innocent think everyone is clean. And I was like, you know what? That's true in my day. Like when I was teaching high school, the teachers who were kind-hearted loved all of the students. The corrupt teachers thought all the students were bad. Like thought every one of them had something bad and wild written in them. Those were all the corrupt teachers. Those were all the corrupt superintendents. Thought everyone was unclean, unclean, unclean. Same thing with the nuns. Same thing that the people who are unclean think others, like others people who were guilty and awful people, always thought other people were unclean and thought they needed to have something corrected within themselves. Always thought they needed to get their sins cleaned or something like that. And then you meet people who are totally innocent of everything, and they don't think anybody needs to correct themselves. They think people should be left alone to do their own business. Isn't that interesting? People who don't break any laws in society, they think people should leave well enough alone. I find that interesting. So it says, give back to her what she's given, double what she's doubled in her works, double the recipe in the cup she's mixed. Bring her flaunting in wild ways to torment and tears. Because she's gloated, I'm queen over all and no widow, never a tear on my face. So I'm queen over all and no widow, never a tear on my face. That makes more sense now. I'm a queen over all. Well, it turns out that Mary says that she's queen of heaven, right? Well, and it also turns out that Ashtaroth, queen of heaven as well. So both Madonna and Ashtaroth said they are queens. We also thought that no widow, that has to do with Jerusalem. We went over that on my Twitter feed. In one day, disasters will crush her, death, heartbreak, and famine. And so that's famine is because in one day, remember the grain silos came down and they said that was the grain silo for a year. So in one day, famine. And that's true. In one day with one blowout, famine. They were like, that's it. That's their grain silo for all of Lebanon for a year. In one day, famine. And that's how that happened. So that's why we think it's Beirut. In one day, disasters will crush her, death, heartbreak, and famine. Then she'll be burned by fire because God, the strong God who judges her, has had enough. That's what concerns me. It says, then she'll be burned by fire. I wonder if something else is coming. That's why I'm like, get out of there, get out of there, get out. Then she'll be burned by fire. New sulfur fires are coming. We've already seen it. I think ISIS is coming, but it says, then she'll be burned by fire. Then she'll be burned by fire. So I'm like, I wonder if something else is coming. So the kings of the earth will see the smoke of her burning, and they'll cry and carry on. The kings who went night after night to her brothel, they'll keep their distance for fear they'll get burned, and they'll cry their lament. I'm wondering if it's going to be Israel. I wonder if something's going to happen in Israel, because Israel's down there. Israel, the tunnels ran down to Israel. I wonder if fire's going to happen in Israel. I wonder if something's going to happen in Israel. Interesting. Doom, the great city doomed, city of Babylon, but it says a strong city, a city. So that's this Beirut, and it only went 15 miles right now. I'm wondering if it's going to go bigger. Just at 15 miles is the Israeli border. If it goes any bigger, then it goes into Israel. So, and by the way, if it goes any bigger, then it hits the oil rigs of Israel. Israel they have a Leviathan oil field right there. They have massive amounts of oil rigs, which is interesting because Israel funds Israel is Democrat. Remember, they fund the Democratic Party. Amazing for everything Trump's done. the Netanyahu and everything Trump's done for the Jews in America. And remember, Jews are just the tribe of Judah. There are 12 tribes in Israel, but the only one that kept marrying within their own tribe was the tribe of Judah. So anyway, that's a long story. So the kings of the earth will see the smoke of her burning, and they'll carry on. Doom, doom, the great city is doomed. City of Babylon, strong city. In 1 hour, your judgments come. And that's the other reason, because in 1 hour, I checked the timestamp. It was like 58 minutes. Like from when it started to when it went off. When it was smoke, 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 and then went boom, 1 hour. The traitors will cry and carry on. Hold on, let me see if my husband's good. Oh, my husband's here. All right, so I better go. And then I guess this is part 1, and then we'll because it's time for bed. So that's part 1, and then we'll carry on with part 2 of Revelation 17, going into it. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. That's part 1 of Revelation 17, because I'm going to go to bed and rest, because that's a lot of filming for me today, and it's been pretty tough anyway. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please donate down below. You guys are my only form of support. So just $1 a month would really, really help out. You won't even notice it. I promise you won't even notice it. So when you donate, like, $3 a month, you don't notice that either. So when you dollar a month, trust me, you don't notice it at all. So please go ahead and donate $1 a month. And if you want to do just $12, then you never have to worry about it at all. So, and for those of you guys who already donated, you are the light of my life. You give me the will to carry on. Seriously, you give me the strength to keep on fighting every single day, and you're the reason that I've been getting better and better over the last 3 years, and we have found so much. We found all of this, and quite frankly, you're the reason that the people whose lives were saved there's a lot of people, a lot of people got out of Iraq and got out of Syria and got out of that earthquake went 600 miles and got out of Beirut, you guys. And that's a big deal. And I really want to thank you for being a part of that. That's a big deal. And so it's not just me, you know what I mean? Like, you're supporting a lot of people around the world. Like, we're just a family. So I thank you so much. All right. I'll talk to you later. Bye. See you in part 2. Revelation 17, and then maybe we'll keep on going to another one. So this is very interesting. The Ancient Text series. This is at least my input. Tazzie's like bed mommy.